welcome to the Poddamnelectric podcast. This is episode 5. We are in the middle of our first run of ranking and reviewing some of our favourite artists. We've gone with Maiden. We're going through all 17 Maiden albums, ranked, and when they reach their highest ranking between the three of us, we'll then deep dive and review each album. We are in at number 9.
Yeah.
Is that correct, boys?
I believe so, because someone will have this album at number 9 that will be the trigger, because 2 of us have already said it.
I've already got an album of your 9. Do you want to just say what that was again?
Yes, and let's go around like we did before.
It must be said, we've had a couple of weeks break.
Yeah.
So we're just getting back into it. This is going to be episode 5. We're up to 9.
So
in our Maiden rankings.
Yeah. So number 9 for me was Number of the Beast.
Was Knob.
Knob.
And you're going to make me relive my painful moment. I told you both that Killers was in number 9.
Killers is your number 9.
The first time.
Oh no, I haven't discussed it. I haven't, have I?
No.
So I've already
You
broken
haven't.
your heart with self-titled. Now I've broken your heart with Killers.
You're
Neither
dissing
am I-
Diano here because you had the first one, Smithy, in at 13.
Yeah, fair.
You've just produced Killers at number 9,
I have.
which I like the fact it's
It could have been a lot lower.
It's top 10.
Yeah, but I appreciated it because I hadn't appreciated it.
Have put the mileage in, we know that. And so you for number 9 must be...
My number 9, boys, is Fear of the Dark.
That's the trigger.
Fear of the Dark.
I don't know where it is.
From 92, Fear of the Dark. It's reached
Back
its
sheets.
highest point, if I'm thinking
It
correctly.
is the highest point.
Lammy, you had Fear of the Dark at a lowly 12.
Yes, I did. Oh,
Smiths,
you do like parading the Vinell, do you?
you had Fear of the Dark at 11.
11, yes.
So we all had 12, 11 and 9 for our rankings.
Double.
You may see something produced at the top there when Smith.
Oh, yes, you will, so I didn't know what we're looking at.
does his,
Yeah. I'll be somewhere.
visuals. Yeah.
Nice. So, Maiden Fact says it is now the period 92 to 94.
92. Can you go into a bit of background for me, Lammy?
So at this point,
Fear of the Dark.
for those of you who might have missed an earlier album that we went through, which would have been No Prayer for the Dying, which we've already been
Yes.
through. Brucey's already had the wobbles after Seventh Son and the size of the tour. He does a solo album with organic girls on it, and it don't do too badly. They use his song, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, for the famous Christmas number 1. So at this point now,
Back in it.
Brucey's really beginning to be the running man for the band a little bit. He's got the solo album, it's his song that's gone to number 1. It's supposed to be for Nightmare on Elm Street 3 soundtrack, I think.
He's throwing his weight around a
So,
bit, isn't he?
We now know we're on the final Bruce album, the death kind of throes of classic Maiden here now. You know, Adrian Smith's already gone after Seventh Son, doesn't play on No Prayer for the Dying.
Yeah.
So one of the 3 writers has already gone. Bruce is writing a lot, but they're not getting much of it. And we now move into the final album of the classic, sort of real classic lineup.
It is, isn't it?
Maiden. So,
Yeah.
singles-wise, the
Yeah.
kings of the opening track and lead-off single up to this point. It's one of your favourites.
This
Ole?
song is Be Quick or Be Dead.
Oh. Single-handedly got it to this position, probably, if I'm honest with you.
Great show. It's a belter.
It is. When
It's
Nico
a
whacks that
beauty.
snare drum, you are just off.
This is a Dickinson Gers effort, of which there was quite... I was doing a bit of homework the other day and didn't realise how much Gers is on a lot of records that are still to be discussed.
I know.
So it's quite... And particularly a sort of Dickinson Gers partnership.
Because it flourished during Toad Millionaire.
Exactly. We discussed via messaging and general bants a while ago the notion of the classic first track off a Maiden album.
Yeah.
What are some of our favourite first tracks off a Maiden album? Be Quick or Be Dead has got to be in the top 3 or 4 to me.
Top 3 easy,
Easy.
Top 3.
Yeah, all of us. Top
You're
3.
nodding in aggressive agreement.
Oh, definitely.
So-
This is up there as one of the best of the main openers.
It
I
really
love.
is.
Yeah, I believe that. I'm just so stoked that you think the same.
I can probably say for me it's number 2 in terms of main
just
openers.
that snare roll, a bit of a, like we love our punk rock here,
Yeah.
almost a swinging D beaty, dare I
Nico
say.
pummels this one.
It's a classic opening track.
And the first of 3 singles released from this album, not the standard 2. So you've had the odd ones where there was 3 produced for Seventh Son, but 2 of them are live Clairvoyant, and then it's live for Maiden England. So they're just really the 2 studio albums.
Okay.
And then
Knowledge.
you've got 2, and don't quote me on that live Clairvoyant, but the version I've got, it's live.
Yeah.
And then prior to that, everything was 2 singles per album from Killers onwards, with the exception of Live After Death, because that throws up 2 as well.
Yeah.
People think it's part of that Power Slave singles, it's not. So 3 singles. From Here to Eternity is single number 2.
Second track on the record.
Just let's have a shout along to the terraces in Normo Dome in Cleveland, where they can shout from the back to us.
From here to eternity. Oh my god. There's a reason why this sits there in my list, to be honest with
Let
you.
it out. We don't have to do this in any
I
format.
mean, it's quite high on yours, to be fair.
It's
It
higher
is.
than mine.
Yeah.
It actually got bumped down by No Prayer, and that was only on general consistency, because I feel the album's a bit 50-50. If I love it, I think it's the best shit they've ever written. If I don't like it, it's pretty low.
Gotcha.
And it's a real 50-50 for me.
Gotcha.
On the third single,
Third single.
it's Wasting Love.
Brilliant.
Great track. That was a
Uber
great
ballad
track.
tucked away on that second half of the
So,
album.
are you
And they did do a Fear of the Dark live and Hallowed Be Thy Name live, which came from the 2 live albums.
nice?
So the singles wise, there was a lot going on.
So,
And
are you saying that you like From Here to Eternity?
I do.
So, your agreement that these 3 singles, I
all
mean,
strong.
they're probably some of the strongest run of singles off an album,
Yeah.
in our opinion. Obviously,
Oh, yeah, of
some
course.
people
Yeah,
might
other
not,
people might
No,
not
know,
agree.
it is. They're massive singles.
Excellent,
they
excellent.
throw-
Very pleasing so far.
They throw the fun around on these singles.
Yeah.
Covers. They got an original song called Nodding Donkey Blues, the B-side.
Yeah,
Other than
I
that,
remember
Back
that.
to the Montrose, which I haven't done since the first odd single, with Space Station number 5. Like a banging Montrose, right? Roll Over Vic Vella is a rewrite of Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
Roll Over Beethoven. And I Can't See My Feelings by Budgie. Who doesn't fucking cover Budgie?
Yeah.
I mean, Metallica, Soundgarden, blah blah blah. Everyone does Budgie covers. So even Maiden do Budgie.
Yeah.
So they're throwing the fun about on it with the B-sides.
I would say they're ticking boxes now.
Oh yeah.
I'd say, yeah. They're just doing a few more things to try and keep it invigorated while Bruce is secretly seeming
Wanting
to be
to leave.
less
Work
interested.
out which side of the knife to twist that he's got in shower. His shoulder blades.
It's hard, isn't it?
Messy.
So, really strong triplet of singles here.
Can we stop
Um,
for a sec?
We can.
Tell us why you love it, because this album's big for you.
I get so excited about
Yeah.
this record. It's like, the reason it's not higher is literally just really going into we're in the business end. We're top 9 now. We're firmly in our top 10. Those 10 records, of any order of ours, I think, can be argued are stone cold classics. Term comes up a lot, but they really are. This, for me, is one of them. This was the first new album when I was getting into Maiden, so it's always going to hold.
Of course.
No music fan doesn't
Emotional
have that
attachment
record.
to the music
yeah.
makes such a big difference. Even if you want to be dispassionate for this and maybe a bit clinical about this and
Yeah.
try and look at it purely from a musical perspective, you
Yeah.
can't.
You
Yeah.
can't.
There are certain
There's
albums
too
that-
much
It deserves
that's
respect.
running
As soon
through
as you
me as
say
I
it.
speak about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Emotional.
It doesn't have a bad song on the record. We'll go through the songs with this record, I think, because they're an interesting mix. We're into the early 90s. We're sort of solidly into the 90s now. There are easily 7 or 8 absolute stone cold classics on here. Be Quick or Be Dead, From Here to Eternity, Afraid to Shoot Strangers, which we'll go into, Wasting Love, The Fugitive, Chains of Misery, Fear of the Dark, the title track. Shall we go backwards? Talk about
your list there. I will just throw something in.
Go on.
And this is something I've said to these two recently. Be Quick or Be Dead, Here to Eternity,
Yeah.
Afraid to Shoot Strangers,
Yeah.
Wasting Love, Fear of the Dark.
Yeah.
That is, or would be, my number 1 Maiden release 5 incredible songs, making basically a stunning mini album. That'd be
because you want this to be a mini, like an EP.
Yeah, an
don't you?
EP, 5 tracks. Because this is the argument I've got is it's full of
Filler.
Yeah, and one of the tracks you've said is pure filler.
Oh, you can't.
It's total dirge.
So you've got a particular emotional attachment to a song in a very negative way.
In a very negative way.
That is the third track, Afraid to Shoot Strangers.
Oh,
Easy
see,
for me
I'm
to
being
say.
cussed.
Harris has had words with you from beyond.
Afraid to Shoot Strangers, Smithy. Explain your dislike.
So you
of
know
this
that
song.
I disliked the track anyway.
Yeah.
So as I was going through and I was like, banger, banger. Oh dear, bit dodgy. Banger, banger, another dodgy one. And then I was starting to see there was a bit of a theme here, a bit of what I would class as filler. And then I find that what I think is ultimate primo filler is one of your top 10 favourite Maiden tracks of all time.
Easily.
And Chris just banger.
Yeah, love it.
Absolutely love it. Right, amazing tune, basically. And all I hear is 3.5 minutes of boring nonsense. There's nothing really happening in 3.5 minutes. Then you get a riff frenzy for about 1.5 minutes.
A burial ground.
You don't like repetition. God.
The drum beat alone is
You don't like repetition in
stirring.
music, but you're happy to hear him say, afraid to shoot strangers, over and over again for a good minute, before we get another solo, a reprise of the awful riff, and it ends.
He's dissected it like some horrible festering corpse
I
in front
don't
of him.
see much in the redeeming pile in this tune. I can't put many factors in there.
Do you know one of the reasons why I love it?
Why?
Because I love the lyrics about the horrors of war and not being able to kill. I think he actually captures it with a great lyric, and I just love the title as against the theme. The theme of the song is the horrors of war and the young kid not wanting to go out and do. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Afraid to shoot strangers.
Yeah.
What a great title.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a track about war, and he don't even like it. It's the flipping truth. For fuck's sake. That's a banger about war, and you're like, oh no, that's too played everywhere.
This is so great.
It's a poignant song. It is. It's about the Gulf War at the time, wasn't it?
God.
Yeah.
Poignant nonsense. And
Well, I don't know what to say. Go on.
Weekend Warrior.
Yeah, I'm afraid Weekend Warrior does come up there with me as
Is it a weekend warrior for you boys?
It's
a weekend warrior sometimes. Not all the time.
I'll go on saying that when we use the word filler here, Maiden's filler is better than 90% of bands' actual decent album tracks. We love it. We're not saying it's filler because we don't like it. It's just, for me, those 5 tracks I said are so far ahead of everything else.
Yeah.
The word's just an easy word to describe a lot more of that album to me. It's too long. It's a double that's too long when it should have been a single.
I don't know what your ears are hearing when you hear Afraid to Shoot Strangers. You didn't really disagree with Tears of a Clown, but like you are going to the grave with this one. Like, ooh, love it.
I had the Live from Donington VHS. I bummed that every day after school. Get in, get some biscuits, put that video on.
1 second. This is an edit.
Stop!
No, we won't need to edit.
We won't need to
around
edit.
and press the blue tack on that. It's got to just lean
Well, I
forward.
want to be careful, mate,
Give it a
because
little press.
they're wax.
I know, but they'll be right.
We've got some minor visuals.
Oh, that's what the problem is. It's being pulled. Do you want to take it down?
Look, let's just... I'll try
It
one more
must
time.
be said that we feel that, almost some of our uniqueness is in our visuals, so it's absolutely right we're taking the time to amend, create, and get it right.
We are basically in a shed, but an
I mean,
awesome
these
shed.
3 albums, we might not be discussing these 3 in particular for a hell of a long time.
Yeah.
To be fair,
in terms of a trio,
those 3.
Yeah.
We won't have any spoilers, but that's quite.
Let's get back on track.
Talk about the clairvoyant. Those 3
Yeah.
there.
Donington 92, you're saying?
Donington 92.
VHS.
VHS presentation. Still one of my favourite live presentations of any band. And Afraid to Shoot Strangers. It's all black and white, isn't it? That like very rare does it cut to like a colour shot. It's all black and white. Bruce is talking about how politicians start wars, and then send the Normo out, and then the intro, the dry ice kicks in, lovely twin guitar work.
So let's talk about
at what point do we get that guitar work?
When it's ready, it's
way past ready.
When it's built.
You were defending songs a lot longer than this in a few episodes ago.
I know, but like this song, I just can't agree. I just can't.
It's interesting. I just find it interesting that it's that one that, like, out of all of some of the material we've covered so far, that it's that.
Oh, I like Chains of Misery. Great song. Now,
it's incredible.
this is why this album is great. I'm ripping on this one tune.
Yeah. Why do you rate it like nearly top 10?
I think it's because it is a break from the norm for Maiden, but there's still elements there that hark back to that classic Maiden.
Yeah, like Afraid to Shoot Strangers.
The most important thing for me is always those first couple of tracks on the album. Yeah. If you can hook me in, and to get that Be Quick or Be Dead, followed by From Here to Eternity, which is, dare I say, a bit Judas Priest.
What, From Here to Eternity?
Yeah,
and it's quite very friendly as well, isn't it?
It's that big 80s priest, isn't it? That big 80s American priest, which you have to love.
And then, as the album progresses, there's just, every now and then there's a dip for me, but they pull it back.
Yeah.
Dip, pull it back.
Yeah.
And they pull it back far more times than they ever dip.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Nice.
And I've really, my beef is only really with those two tracks.
Okay.
So you're talking about an album where I like.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Oh, not yet. I'll have one in a minute.
It's Salon Tonight, is it not?
It's Salon Tonight, boys.
Lovely.
So let's tie some of this together then. Okay. Interestingly, so you talked about Donington '92 and that VHS. So I'm so fucking old. I was there at Donington '92, which is one of my favourite gigs, and it was like it was the Almighty. There was Slayer. There was Skid Row. It was epic, right?
Yeah. Okay. So when Seb Back came on and slipped over, wasn't it? Straight away.
Straight over in the rain.
Runs out, slips over.
This Maiden performance, you'd never known anything was up with Bruce. And that's why some of these songs, like I'm just saying, Afraid to Shoot Strangers, Fear of the Dark, they were off the charts for this. I still remember how I felt when that Eddie come over the drum riser with the hands on all the Marshall stacks, and it was just like, I've seen Maiden before, but this is incredible. It's what they'll move into with what we now know with Maiden.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those performances. And interestingly, the VHS was released. Look at the cover of this one. Hold up that vinyl again for us there, Schmitz. Interesting. This is the official first non-Derek Riggs cover.
Go into that for us, Christopher.
So after the aggro over No Prayer for the Dying, where Rod Smallwood thought that the Eddie looked a bit more cartoonish on No Prayer for the Dying, and he also thought that the slightly chubby grave robber on the side of the original was supposed to be him. Riggs is quietly beginning to be pushed out the way, and they get a new artist called Melvin Grant to do like the tree nymph Eddie, whatever you're going to call it. And it is a great cover.
Thoughts
you
on
wouldn't
this?
know it wasn't Riggs, to be honest with you. It's got his feel to it, but it isn't him. It's a big moment, that. The same as then we go back to more Riggsy Maidens for this Real Live one and Real Dead one live album.
Yeah, they are
quite classic, behind me.
Classic images,
They do 2 tours, Fear of the Dark tour, a Real Live tour, which is, again, these live albums I'll talk about in a second. Another interesting thing about this album in terms of Maiden history, the final one to be produced by Martin Birch, who's been with them since Killers.
I noticed in the back they've called him Martin the Juggler Birch.
Yes.
So this is...
Hang on, let's work this out. What's this, about 8 albums he's done now? Maybe more than that, 10?
Yeah.
I can't work it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... That wasn't 9.
Is it only the 9?
Only 9.
Wow.
But either way, it is the 9th straight album he is the producer on. That's just massive.
Yeah.
So he leaves, which is another huge thing to the Maiden family. Smith, Bruce, Martin Birch. It's absolutely huge.
Crazy.
And of course, Bruce leaves.
And Bruce straight after.
We're not interested in any of the nonsense that went on. Most of us don't really know about it. There's been a lot more snippets of it released in like historical books and historical, modern interviews looking back and all this stuff. But there was a lot of spatting in the press. It wasn't nice. It was almost as ugly as Priest and Rob Alford, ironically, at just about the same time.
Oh, that was a big hit for rock, wasn't it?
That was huge. Both the frontmen of Britain's two biggest metal bands go in the same year or two.
Yeah.
But both managed to get somebody that was pretty damn proficient to jump in.
Yeah.
But
I got a problem with Ripper Owens. Because at least Ripper Owens had big nuts like Halford to give it some big large. They were still shredding. They did exactly what Maiden didn't do.
Yeah,
they held the hammer down harder, painkiller style, and then let Ripper just have it.
Fucking the geezer from Halloween to join at the time. And just go full throttle. But
Kai Hansen's third guitarist, and you're away.
Can you imagine?
Hello, Maiden.
Fuck.
But anyway, just the last bits of facts. So when Bruce leaves, they do one final show after the two tours, which is the Raising Hell TV special, which is basically Maiden performing intercut with a bit of horrible gore musician, Simon someone or other.
Yeah, I put it on VHS.
And released on VHS, and that is
Raising
it
Hell.
for Bruce. You had the two live albums, which is a real live one and a real dead one. So a real live one is everything post Seventh Son, and a real dead one is up to Somewhere in Time. Two different albums, which eventually got re-released as like a solitary double in the more sort of double CD digital age, but they were conceived as two complete ones. But yeah, everything has changed now for Maiden. Everything has changed, and I think that's my love and hate with this. When it is good, it's some of the best stuff for me Maiden have ever done.
Yeah.
But 5 tracks out of 12, 13?
12.
5 out of 12 is not enough. It's only 50% that I consider absolute prime Maiden. And it makes sense to me with all the turmoil that's going on. It kind of talks to me as an album like that. It's not as good as it could be. When it's great, it's great. That's probably how I feel about Maiden at this time.
Fair play. It's fair play. The beauty of music is, what it does to you chemically, emotionally. It's always going to be different. Not much else to say on this absolute classic. No. We've covered artwork. I do think it's some of my favourite artwork.
It's great artwork.
Great.
Super cool.
In the same way that I like the X Factor, it's an original bit of art, but it's still you're still tapping into that horror vibe.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
So we like this record. We like it a lot.
Yeah. She's done.
So, we're happy with Fear, yeah?
Very much so.
Reached 9, which
see you later.
Very fair.
Right. We are on
number 8.
To our 8th.
So we'll start at this end as per usual at number 8.
In at 8.
Killers.
Oh, so you're only one ahead of me.
Killers.
Yeah, number 8 for me is Killers. But I will say now,
very interesting.
This is the break point for me, 8 upwards. I found the list easier, 9 downwards, but this is the business end where we are talking minor degrees between albums. Even Knob for me is far enough back from Killers for me to see that spacing.
Right.
But from Killers onwards, these final 8s, this is where this is the 12th round waiting for the punch round.
It's a blistering run when
it is, isn't it? So number 8 for you then, Schmitz.
Your number 8,
of the Beast.
Knob.
Knob. Just
number of the
one
Beast.
above me for your Knob.
It actually raised a couple of spaces.
Yeah.
Because we had discussed, but we'll go into it later. We had discussed whether we thought it was overrated or not, didn't we?
Yeah.
But we'll come into
that. We will. We're not going to go into Killers yet, boys.
No.
We're not going to get into Number of the Beast yet.
Ooh.
Which a few years ago...
Yeah.
I think you've had the same experience with me with Knob, where you've gone, I'm not into it, and then, hold on.
Big time. Big time. But my number 8 is an absolute belter.
Okay.
This is a great record.
Okay.
It's The Final Frontier.
Oh! Did that trigger it?
Oh my God.
No, it's not triggered.
I tell you.
It's not triggered.
It isn't triggered, but it is going to be triggered.
Yeah. So if we do number 7
is
now.
It?
Number,
so excited.
I know,
number 7
and I am
for me.
Very excited.
Number 7 for me, The Final Frontier.
But I can't find...
Number 7 for me.
Yeah.
The Final Frontier.
Yeah.
The Final Frontier.
Can I just
so
bring
we're
up
really
something?
on agreement in our placing there, aren't we?
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry, Smiths.
And that is that something I noticed with my top 10 era of Maiden
is
and you're going to laugh at this now, but there's a very interesting element of literature being involved in the lyrics and the themes of the album.
Okay.
And I find it strange that when I went through and I started referencing all the literature and everything, 9 albums are in my top 10.
Right.
So 9 albums, like some of them don't really go too far into it, but the ones that do all feature in my top 10. So yeah,
love that.
The concept element of Maiden that they always like to have was always there, and that's why I love Final Frontier. But we'll move on to that in a bit.
So we're going in.
Yeah, we're going in. 7, and 8 for the Final Frontier.
I will do a piece of background,
and
I want to let you boys delve into this because this is an exciting record, I think. All right, so we're in 2010. We've had an incredible run, really, of Brucey comes back to the band in 2000, and this is the 4th album of that run.
Yep.
All 4 pretty bloody strong.
Yeah.
You know, we've discussed Dance of Death. Have we discussed? We haven't discussed Brave New World. We haven't discussed A Matter of Life and Death.
No, we haven't.
So it just proves, out of these 4, we've only discussed Dance of Death. And we're in our 7th favourite record here. What a fucking comeback!
What a second wind!
You know, that's a full decade. That's 10 years, 4 albums. This is the 4th, 2010, recorded in the Bahamas.
A sacred place for Maiden.
In it? Just explain that, Lamo.
Well, they did Power Slave there, which is really the trigger point.
Definitely.
And a lot of them were going there during that period. You guys used to doing Back in Black there, and there was a Priest album there, I think, as well. It was the place to go, Compass Studios.
Yeah.
You took your guy with you. In their case, it was Power Slave. In this case, it was Birch. This case, they're still with Kevin Shirley.
Still with Kevin Shirley.
They find one guy, they don't see any reason to ditch him because, like Birch, he is the man to go to.
Yeah.
Must be just that click he gets with Steve Harris.
Yeah.
So you go with Kevin Shirley. Compass Point Studios, where is that?
Fantastic. You're the man who knows his singles.
So,
what you got for us?
First single from this was, well, they don't do singles anymore.
No.
Call it straight here.
Yeah,
they don't do. There's no physical formats from this album onwards, unless there's something special like a Record Store Day or whatever. Oof. There is not the standard singles for this anymore. So the first track from this is the only one I would talk about, really, because otherwise I just digital pre-release was El Dorado.
Gotcha.
And what a single! Brucey's vocals so soaring, so powerful on that.
El Dorado. That was where that's where the album blew my mind because I put off listening to it for a long time.
Yeah.
As you'll notice this actually, it's a running theme with me is that I put off listening to newer albums, and then I turned 30. And all of a sudden I was like, well, fuck the old albums.
Yeah.
It's all about the new albums. And this one, it just blew my mind. His vocals, I still think to this day, this could be one of his strongest vocal performances.
No question. He is absolutely flying.
You've said no question.
He's flying on this.
Okay, no question.
Flying on it. He's up there with this one.
Really fantastic. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I fucking love Maiden, and the fact there's, only 11 years ago they're banging out records that really fucking put their 80s output
to the test.
Yes, it's up there with some of this latter period stuff.
100%. Let's talk about the opening track. It's got a funny little. I saw another podcast actually, so I'm nicking this. And they described this opening stuff as like a 9 Inch Nails but on Casio keyboard.
Yeah.
It's like a really strange intro. What's that about? What's up with that?
This is where it threw me.
Yeah.
Because I put that on and I was like, this is exactly what I expected. And then they literally dropped that. And that doesn't happen again for the rest of the album.
No.
They just give you this false sense of security.
15 is an opener, and they've clearly just not dived in as Maiden. So it's not been some proggy intro that's a long bit of music. It's not just been a speech. It's not just been a quick song or whatever it is. They've done an intro piece of music, Satellite 15, that might just outstay its welcome for some.
Well, it's not that it outstays, because it was then when I appreciated, hold on a sec, this is the concept.
Yeah.
This is the theme. This is what they're going with.
Yeah.
And that was intended to put that on the beginning, so it made it more of the entire album
It
as a
kind of
listen.
gives it a vibe, I
It
suppose.
does give it a
doesn't
vibe.
I'm not a huge fan,
No,
to be honest,
I mean,
but
I could
it's
have lost
totally
it,
cool.
but
It's a bit... I don't know what it is.
Well, this
It's
is
more of a sort of intro to like a gig almost, isn't it?
This is my
You know.
second, third phase Maiden thing, isn't it? Production.
Yeah.
Why I trashed Dance to Death.
Yeah.
And why I wasn't keen on Book of Souls, but
Yeah.
got more enjoyment out of Senjutsu. It's the same with this again. The production to me is not dry or dull. I love the weird atmospherics on
Big,
Start
innit?
Satellite 15. The production sounds big. The guitars got classically great Maiden tones to them. They're a bit more modernised. Everything is crisp. Bruce's vocals are just mixed to perfection in it, and I just find that the vibrancy of the mix, as well as like other little sonic things they do, make it interesting. Which wasn't what the Book of Souls did or what Dance of Death did. So again, it sings to me as an interesting album sonically, as well as a stunning album in terms of writing and performance.
Couldn't agree more. What I like about this record as well is some of these Maiden albums, I'm going to reference Matter of Life and Death, Book of Souls, Senjutsu. They've almost been sort of marketed as like these sort of prog pieces.
Yeah.
I would argue that some of this is proper progressive, but it's also intermingled with massive choruses. Where I think some of the and this is what rates it above some of those other albums I've mentioned, is it's got the stadium choruses as well as the really interesting stuff. And looking at, like, I seem to think there's a couple of real hits, but those, I mean, the shortest song's 4.5 minutes. They're all like over 5 minutes, even the more condensed songs.
Yeah.
But even like some of these 7, 8, 9 minute songs, they've still got, they're real sing-alongs still, aren't they?
Well, God, the lyrics.
I know it's Maiden, everything's fucking sing-along when it comes to Maiden, but they really are catchy tunes.
Yeah,
it's a masterclass, this though, in how he's written the lyrics and the delivery of them. It's an absolute masterclass for me. Like, I just can't get enough of it. And like, Coming Home was one of the ones that struck a chord with me at first.
Did it?
To how big is that? Just the like he building it, and then the chorus comes. But it's the next one. It's Janix, the Alchemist.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
that tune and that chorus. My dreams, the empire of my frozen queen will come to pass. The way he sings it, my dreams, just like the pitch.
Oh God, I almost feel like banging this on now.
I know.
The other thing that's interesting when you say that, you talk about some of the real legendary vocalists in this film. Like take Dio, for example.
Yeah.
Some of his fantasy lyrics were always left a little bit langing, but when he really nailed a great lyric, that voice combined with the lyric is another level. And this is sing. Bruce, I've always said about Danzig, or Chris Cornell, they always said about Chris Cornell, he could sing a menu in a restaurant and it would sound like $1 million.
Yeah.
Now, I get that about that voice.
Yeah.
But with Bruce, for example, if he's singing an Harris song or a Smith song or a Murray song that maybe he hasn't invested in quite so much, you've still got that great voice and level of professionalism. But any vocalist who then connects with the lyrics as well about something you're passionate about, you've written a story, you've written something about the world, you've written something to do with other literature. When you get behind it, this is a great example of this song, the power of the vocal and the emotion with the words take it to another level. And there's bags of it on this.
Yeah. And
Well
just when you think they can't possibly top the chorus of the last tune, they just keep going like Isle of Avalon. They just keep coming and coming.
Yeah.
And I find the other thing I like about this album is they keep it concise. I know it's a bit longer, but 10 tracks. They don't outstay their welcome. Yep. And I would argue there is no filler on this album, other than that 30-second intro or whatever.
You probably got a point there.
Yeah, there's no filler on it.
I couldn't actually, and I've done this through the process, I couldn't actually skip a tune off this album.
Why isn't this our number one?
This is the point.
It's when you get to the others. I will say one thing about this. It doesn't put me off the record. I can't stand the artwork.
No, it's terrible.
The artwork is
I don't mind it in a Warhammer way. It's got a real sort of
war.
I hated it, but I would love a shirt of that.
Yeah.
now.
Oh yeah, as a shirt, yeah. But I mean, I don't like it. It just is a bit too cartoony horror
Christmas
to me.
again.
You have said before that isn't Eddie, and I do agree with you.
That's not Eddie,
That's
is it?
not nowhere near
It's an
Eddie.
attempt. Which is interesting if we get onto artwork and
Okay.
other little side
Okay.
issues here. Because there were no singles, there was no other tracks they did around this time apart from very tasty cover of Space Trucking by
Oh,
Deep
Deep
Purple for a
Purple.
tribute to Deep Purple. It's a great one. They also put
Yeah.
on some Metal Hammer thing as well. But other than that, there's a little bit of interesting stuff here. They did the Final Frontier World Tour,
Yeah.
then it's the Maiden England Mini World Tour.
Which I attended.
And so, what's interesting in here, there's nothing else that's really major in terms of Maiden, but when you get to these little compilations and live issues, so On Vivo is the live album to accompany this.
Yes.
I mean, again, beautiful DVD or Blu-ray.
It's
It looks
incredible.
$1 million. It sounds amazing. It's celebrating this immense record. It's a
Yeah.
great Maiden live release on Vivo. Plenty of bonuses on your other
It's
discs as well. Yeah,
incredible.
great stuff. But what's other interesting is Maiden England is now done as a DVD reissue, which is your history of Iron Maiden Part 3.
Yeah.
And it's interesting they've never got into Part 4 because if they did Part 4, what you're releasing is Donington 92 and Raising Hell and the Brucey Dirt. And I don't think they'll ever get past Part 3. I think they'll be like History,
We are
stuck on
gagging
number
for
3.
that,
Stuck,
aren't
yeah.
we?
So Maiden England's out, which is another great release. Again, that amazing Somewhere in Time tour. Loads of stuff, good documentaries, programs. Again, just another. So what we were talking about earlier about Maiden. You've got a brand new album, which is immense and amazing, with an amazing live DVD. Then just to sign off, the ultimate boner for the fans, have you reissued Maiden England that only looks totally creamy, but it's also loaded with all this extra stuff.
Yeah.
So every part of you for Maiden is just catered for in this
Yeah.
period, unless you bought From Fear to Eternity, which was now at that point it was the default Maiden compilation
Go
until somewhere back in time came out, which is probably now the default one you'd find in your average record shop.
What's your problem with that
So
then?
From Fear to Eternity covers 1990 to 2010. And the couple of Blaze songs on there are live takes with Brucey on vocals. I mean, what a
Cold,
We have
isn't it?
discussed this earlier.
what a
haven't we?
mistake
But
amongst
it's
all
shit.
this glory we've showered on them.
Yeah.
That is a massive just turd in the middle of it. To do that,
Cold.
I've got that CD, that compilation. It's a belting
course
compilation
it is.
because it's just not the 80s. So if you want a bit of different Maiden, it's
Yeah,
a
this is
great
where you
CD
go.
for the car.
Yep.
It's just so good. But
Clansman
yeah, they
live,
fuck him over.
yeah.
Great live versions, they really are. What is it? Clansman's on there.
Sign of the Cross.
yeah, possibly.
Sign of the Cross might be on there, and maybe Man on the Edge. I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
Just shocking.
Yeah, shocker. I kind of feel like I want to go into this more, but I don't really know what.
Well, for me,
It's-
this is the literature point.
Go on.
God, this is a good.
Because I remember when I first saw the last track name, and I thought, I wonder if that's about the Raymond Briggs book,
Mm.
When the Wind
Yeah, that's
Blows. And it's dark, because it is about that. So I was like, cool, I'll look into that a little bit more. Brucey changes it, though.
Is he?
So in the Raymond Briggs one, you've got the end of the world, the mushroom cloud
That's
happens, and then the old couple slowly deteriorate and they just succumb to the poison and everything like
Right.
that. With this one, the people in the story mistake it for an earthquake, so they basically poison themselves and commit suicide,
Oh.
but they
For
wouldn't
nothing.
have died all
Yeah.
for nothing.
Oh,
And I thought that was
twisted.
a nice little twist
Yeah,
that
nice.
Bruce took there.
No, he's a clever man.
He is a clever man.
You don't often get the package like with the voice, the athleticism, the lyrics, the songwriting,
Yeah.
and the ability to
And that-
interpret. And he's a massive pilot as well.
Yeah.
Jesus,
Ultra
Renaissance
intelligent.
Great
man
fencer.
in every way.
Yeah.
Every way.
Gorgeous looking.
Gorgeous
Yeah,
inside,
yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I'll say one thing for me. There's a little cheeky track on this, which is possibly my highlight there. Mother of Mercy.
Mother
Yes.
of Mercy.
It's the voice on that Mother of Mercy chorus. It's hitting that upper air raid siren register.
Yeah.
But he's almost singing it with so much emotion. It was like shouting at her at this Mother of Mercy, just shouting at her almost
Yeah.
at the same time as singing it.
Yeah.
It's, whenever I hear it,
That's
the old
massive as
next
well,
one-
isn't it?
Oh,
To Smith Harris, that one.
God.
Out of interest.
Which then just makes it even more weird that we just said he gets
Into
the
the
vocals
dead
behind something
desire.
he lyrically
yeah.
gets into. Yet this isn't his.
Yeah.
It's not his.
Just great.
Just shows he was all over it at this
Great,
point.
isn't he?
Just throw him anything,
Yeah,
he'd
yeah.
knock it out the park.
I mean, it's one of those albums where it's modern, so there's not a lot of history to talk about it, or maybe quite the investiture there might be in these other albums that are going to come up.
Yeah.
We've barely got a bad word to say against it, and that's
Definitely.
why it's 7, 7 and 8.
Definitely.
And the funny thing is, when we first did this, I put my rankings down based on what I knew before I listened to or re-listened to anything.
Yeah.
This started at 14.
Oh,
In my mind, I went, "You're going to be
jump
at 14. I just know you are not going to connect with this album."
Yeah.
And then I put it on, and it just went
Yeah.
bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Ended at 7
Love that.
because it's just
Love that.
perfection.
The final
And if it
frontier.
wasn't for the ones that are coming up, it might have got higher.
Oh, you're offering me... Labby's offering me another tea here.
Oh, lovely.
Just to close this off, the title of the album, The Final Frontier, there was, of course, flirtation around the time that this could have been their last record.
Yes.
I love talking about that now in interviews.
Just a bit of fun.
As a wind-up.
Clearly it wasn't. I mean, after that, they're still to release 2 more.
Yeah,
And
and the more I think about it, that could have been their last record.
It would have been a fucking good
What a
record
way to go out.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely would have been a bow out on that.
But I would not.
No shame.
We
Don't worry,
want
I don't
Maiden
want
to
Maiden.
release another 5 shit
Yeah,
albums
exactly,
before they call it a day.
So
But-
fairly straightforward on the Final Frontier at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
Full agreement.
full agreement.
A classic Maiden record.
Anything from
I think
here
it
upwards
deserves
has to be
that.
said classic.
That is
Okay.
incredible, that album.
Okay. A modern classic.
So I believe you've still got your 7 to reveal.
Myself.
Yeah, Monsieur Harvey for number 7.
We're going to deep dive. I mean, we're probably going to deep dive every mention of
Almost,
records
yeah.
now.
Yeah, it's going to hit the point now.
This is a good one.